something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stopped. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Right, okay, so is it really episode 20?
It is. Yeah.
Oh,
we've been doing this for 2 years or as well.
And we usually do quite a few, so that must be close to it's somewhere between 70 and 100 films we talked about.
Yes, I went to say 200. That's how good my maths
is. No.
5 times 20.
Oh, why not? Yeah. I think it's about 5,000 we've done.
5,000.
Yeah.
So just welcome to our 5,000th film. Watch
100th episode. Sleepy and hairy.
Yeah.
In Sly Vision. And we're going to talk some films, are we?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Get it out the system now. Right.
Okay.
So I guess we're talking your man Donnie first, right?
Donnie, yeah. Are we going to do the Donnie impression? Or are we going to leave that? We'll park it for now.
Yeah, it's probably best.
The prosecutor. Yeah. Am I right in thinking that this is part of a long series of morally righteous films where Donnie Yen wasn't he a cop last and now he's a prosecutor? Is that what happened?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair to say that Donnie is gonna save us all. I think.
Yeah.
Basically. So this is from late last year. This came out, right? Directed, produced, and starring Donnie, who I know you have a bit of a soft spot, or should that be a hard spot for?
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, which we'll get to actually, because I kind of share your enthusiasm for him as well, almost regardless of what the end result is like.
Yeah, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah. So apparently this is kind of based on a true story as well.
Yeah. I didn't bother looking it up though because I I'm sure he dotted every single T and crossed every
I. It's I suspect it's pretty different, and also
I see. No,
I was just thinking as well that the one thing about this is the only thing about this that struck me as that's interestingly realistic, because there's nothing else realistic about the film. It's just the fact that normally in films when they have cases like this, they seem to take place over a few days or a few weeks or something, right? Rather than be dragged through the courts for years and years and years, like in real life. And in this film, that actually does happen. So I thought, fair play. At least that's kind of realistic.
Yeah, they had to montage their way through. About 20 years or something. Anyway, the film is about a police officer who gets suspended or his badge taken away. I can't quite remember because of but it's a miscarriage of justice, isn't it? Because I can't quite remember why, but the crook gets away with it, and then he decides to become a prosecutor instead. So we have a quick montage of him learning how to be a prosecutor.
Yeah, he reads a book.
Yeah. Whiffs through a book, and then becomes a prosecutor, and is immediately everyone's best friend as well, which is nice.
Well, he's Donnie, and he turns up, and he's Well, so this is the interesting thing about Donnie, and I find is he's like, I don't know how he gets away, because when other people try and, because it's the Buckaroo Banzai thing, right, where you're awesome at everything, you're like a rock star neurosurgeon, and apparently, even though he has to study the law, he also has time to work out and keep up with his martial arts.
And his eyesight really isn't affected by reading that book.
Yeah. Yeah, he's basically the same as before, isn't he? Like he'll still, he'll talk the finer points of law and justice, but at the end of the day, if you don't agree, he'll kick you in the face. But he will say, "My learned friend," which somehow I thought was funny. My learned friend.
Well, all the because it's Hong Kong, right? It's the English justice system,
right?
So they've got the wigs, and they
say my learned friend. and then switch back to Cantonese.
So that was all a bit amusing because. But
what I was going to say is, if someone else tries to do all that and turns up and is basically just, hey, I'm Donnie Yen, it's okay, I'm awesome, it's cool. If anyone else says that, it's grating and annoying, and but for some reason, Donnie Yen gets away with it. You still kind of quite like Donnie Yen for some reason. Like no matter how ego-stroking the film gets, you still give him a pass. And I don't know quite how he pulls out. It might be something to do with, you mentioned when we talked Donnie before, it might be something to do with the fact that he kind of has a slightly kind of geeky look to him, right? Like he's not. Yeah. It's definitely got something to do with it. What did you think of The Prosecutor?
As mentioned, I've been tired, so I had to watch it in about 3 goes, and I found that I was even slower at reading the subtitles than usual, and so I was finding it hard to kind of follow along with because Cantonese, you can say a very small amount, and sometimes it's just like the subtitles will be really long, so sometimes I was anyway, so it was full of kind of legal arguments that kind of weren't particularly complex. They were kind of moralistic and kind of probably quite silly, but they were
right.
I was still not following them very well. Along there, I think it would have been nicer if I was less tired this week to be able to actually, because I think that they were kind of so morally. I was following some of them, and the kind of moralistic arguments of them were so kind of convenient, to build up, Donnie Yen's kind of moral virtuosity each time, because he's so rigid in it, and in most of his films that I've seen so far, he's just a very almost messianic character. It is, he's like Jesus basically. It's like he always knows what is the exact more, there's no grey area. He can
No,
navigate it all the way through to moral purity every time, and get to
do you
this
think he
point.
should just cut to the chase and play Jesus in the film?
I think he's leading up to Jesus. I think he'll be a politician next. Then it'll probably be. Has he been a politician? I don't know. I think he.
No, but isn't Martin Scorsese having another run at a Jesus film, isn't he? I heard. So
Oh,
maybe he should cast Donnie.
it would be. I've wanted to see a film where Jesus. Have you heard about the kind of the Apocrypha? The stories of Jesus when he was a young child, and he was performing all these miracles. Stories where he, brought a bird back to life, and then immediately killed it again or something, and then brought it back to life in his class, and all
Right.
his classmates were like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing!" He was kind of, son of God, but also quite adolescent and mischievous. I like the idea of Jesus kicking ass, and performing
But
miracles at the same time. That
I'm
would be
wondering,
great.
actually, fuck Jesus, maybe we've got this the wrong way around.
Mm.
Maybe that Jesus should, get his act together, and he should play Donnie in a film.
He should, yeah. If he could even live up to that
Yeah,
moral standing, I doubt it. Do you? Jesus,
yeah.
he's
Head
definitely
off
got
those
some things wrong.
laurels you're resting on, Jesus,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Donnie Yen is pretty amusing. He never gets anything wrong. Like, there's never a point in the film where he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," or he's always like, well, in this film anyway. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen as many Donnie Yen films as you, obviously, but in the films I've seen, I've never seen him put a foot wrong or have that period. Like you get in a Tom Cruise film where he's questioning himself because he's gone too
right.
far this time. He never goes too far. He gets everything right, and everyone
Yeah,
else is wrong. I like, I
yeah.
like that.
There's a bit, isn't there, where like someone's giving him like a bit of legal advice, and he just kind of looks out the window and politely ignores them. Like, yeah, you're right. There's none. Like, yeah, from the beginning, his plan was absolutely correct, and yeah, and yeah. So we forgot to mention, but the plot's basically about how the legal system fucks up someone a young man who was accused of drug smuggling, and it doesn't really matter because Donnie saves my learned friend. Um, but yeah, I think maybe you got on with it a bit better because it was split into three, but
Yeah,
it's too long if you watch it all in one go. It's like 2 hours long, right? It should be
yeah.
like 90 minutes.
Well, I suppose
Doesn't
also
it?
it doesn't really lend itself to. I mean, I don't know how much in real life the real lawyer kicked like seven
Yeah,
shades of shit out of various
but
criminals.
again, that's the best stuff, though, really, isn't
Yeah,
it? Because like Donnie Yen does that stuff awesome. The action stuff is really good. There's like a really good fight scene on a subway
yeah,
train.
that was
But
great, and it was
yeah,
so violent and great. The only thing I didn't like violence wise was, was the sort of bullet time first person stuff. Didn't they do that in a different
oh
Donnie
yeah,
Yen
at the very beginning,
very
it turns
beginning?
into a video game for 5 minutes, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
that bit's awful.
it really
That
doesn't
bit's really
work.
because even the hand in frame looks like a fake
Yeah, it's
hand.
just silly, and
Yeah, it's an odd mistake because they don't do it again, thank God. But for
no,
some reason, they decided for
I
that
was
scene
worried it was going to be
to do
all
it.
like that, but I think it seemed like a film where and I don't, again, maybe you can shed light on it whether Donnie Yen is now all powerful, having moralized, and
Careful what you say now, because you know he's listening, right?
okay,
At all times.
yes, but has taken control of the the film industry and has all the
The
power he
world,
could
I
ever
think,
want.
is what he's aiming for.
And therefore he's allowed to experiment with whatever the fuck he wants. So maybe it's that.
Maybe so.
He's
Yeah.
just he's doing whatever he feels like it. But it feels there were lots of different experiments in there. But
but as we know, because clearly even when it doesn't work,
it was perfect.
We're reticent. Yeah, science study, good man.
Yeah.
We don't mind.
It was amazing, really. I haven't really grown enough to.
Yeah, no, well, clearly, best film of the year, decade, century.
Yeah.
It's the finest film that ever been made.
Yeah.
Until the next Donnie Yen film.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, it's the action stuff's good, and then because that's what he does well, and the courtroom drama stuff is not really like my little friend. It's just and there's too much of it. So 2 hours is too long. So I would recommend do it the Robin Sleepy style and split it up into 5 viewings or something.
Yeah, well, I was only doing that in order to absorb each portion to its full extent in my dreams. But yeah, I did think that some of that stuff was funny if you could stay awake for it, which was just how morally absolute it was, and he was
right.
Yeah, it was shoehorning arguments to make him,
right.
to make him win it. Like, I
Yeah.
can't quite remember it well enough, but saying, like, it was like legalese, but not really, just made up Hollywoody kind of fluff type thing. Like,
exactly.
Well,
it's almost like he's just almost on the verge of occasionally just getting flushed. Look, I'm Donnie Yen, right? So
it's well, you're wrong.
Yeah, and you're not. Are you Donnie Yen? Oh, you're not, you. Am I? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Your case closed, my learned friend.
My learned friend, if you would just realise how wrong you are, and by way of example,
my learned friend, I would just like to point out that you're not Donnie Yen, and I am.
Yeah.
So fuck you.
Yeah, so there you go.
So it's not particularly good, but the action is good.
Oh yeah,
and you might enjoy it more if you watch it in 10 parts.
Yeah,
but still, it's Donnie, so obviously it's awesome, and we love him for some strange reason.
Yeah.
My little friend.
Beautiful smile. Anyway,
there we go. That's The Prosecutor.
Yeah.
Next time Donnie's got a film out, we'll probably talk about that.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Because we just can't help ourselves. How many Donnie films are we talking about?
I don't know.
3 or something?
Maybe, 3 so far, maybe. Yeah. Ip Man, can't remember the other one. Anyway.
I don't think we talked it, did we?
We did Ip Man, whatever it was. Ip Man 2, right? Or anyway.
Did we? Oh, I know we did the one I can't remember the name of when he was a policeman.
Yeah, see, I thought this was a sequel to that. Yeah. The Prosecutor.
And then it might be.
And then I saw at the end that it was a true story. So I said, forgive me, Donnie.
Anyway, we're going to do them all.
Yeah.
In fact, starting from next time, this is becoming the Donnie Donnie release.
Yeah. All right, so we do. So next film is. Oh, we didn't do talking about we say all the films, don't we? Often.
Say again.
Sometimes we say all the films we're doing first, so that people can. All the
but not
fans.
this time, because actually I've decided we're just going to talk about how awesome Donnie is now for the next. We're not going to talk about any other films, my little friend.
Yeah.
Which basically each of the next films we're going to talk about add the caveat, and Donnie should have been in it.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Yeah. So we're doing Hijack 1971 now, right?
Yes.
Which, again, that was a great Donnie Yen film. because
Oh yeah,
if he would have
Donnie
been
Yen
flying that plane, fucking well, my God,
well,
he would have
if
kicked
Donnie
that
was
guy out of the
if
plane so quickly.
if Donnie was flying the plane, there wouldn't have been any problem. They would have
No,
just landed.
could have
Yeah,
kicked an ass,
it would have been a
landed the
nice,
plane.
calm, tranquil movie
Yeah, with
in
one
which Donnie flies
guy
a plane.
being shitless. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Donnie Yen he would have been a passenger, he wouldn't have even been the pilot. You know, that's how good he is.
If Donnie Yen had been Korean, there would never have been the war and the split.
Yeah, it would have been a unified country,
Yeah.
for sure. No. Ah, well. And a
He would
perfect
unify,
balance
there wouldn't be a
between
South Donnie and a North Donnie. It would just be Donnie,
but it would be
the Republic of Donnie.
it would be a perfect, it would be a wonderful union of communism and kind of capitalism.
That's right.
There would have been everyone living in harmony. Forget it. Yeah, Hijack 1971.
Again, based on a true story, but a little bit more based on a true story this time, I think, than
Yeah.
Although still a lot of artistic license.
Well, yeah, more closely. They changed names and things like that, and changed who actually landed the plane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was the pilot who landed the plane.
I see.
But yeah,
this is a Korean film we should mention as well.
Yeah, okay. Starring Donnie Yen.
Directed by Donnie.
And Donnie Yen with the plane as well. No, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Go on, you give the introduction of this film.
Okay, my little friend. So yeah, we start off with a in 1969. There's a different hijacking, right? There's again, which did happen, where a passenger plane was hijacked and taken to North Korea. And then I suspect this is the main bit they made up, right? Is that the jet fighter pilot who's ordered to shoot down the plane doesn't. And then later on in the film, he turns out to be the co-pilot of the 71 hijacked plane, right?
Yeah, that was a bit convenient.
I'm guessing that bit's made up. Don't think the pilot was actually a former jet fighter pilot who...
No, I think I looked that up.
Shoot down.
Yeah.
So, what did we talk about last? Yeah, so we talked a couple of Korean thrillers before with North Korean shenanigans in Man Standing Next and the other one.
Was it? Was Pigeon Spider? Was that Korean? Or, I don't know. Monkey, spider, pigeon.
My short-term memory is getting awful recently.
Oh, wow.
My little friend. But anyway, like those, there's a certain amount of artistic. But I think those we watched were a little bit closer. I think there's a bigger dollop of kind of Hollywood style bollocks, right?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. Oh, well, there was a lot of characterization and kind of nostalgia in it that and like redemption arcs and stuff like that, and which is nothing wrong with that. It's fine, but it's worth pointing out that even at the beginning it doesn't just say based on a true story. It actually says this is a fiction film. Yeah.
Based on historical events, right? So they've kind of gone out their way to say there's a certain amount of bullshit, so don't take it as gospel, right? But yeah, so 1971, there's a plane bound from Sokcho to Seoul, and it's a North Korean played by Yoo Jin-soo decides to hijack it to North Korea. So it's basically a hijacking story, and and it's I mean, it's not bad. I thought it's not bad. It's not fantastic, but pretty good little thriller. And I did quite like I think the things I liked most about it was, like you mentioned, the nostalgia stuff. I did like they put you in very much in 1971 South Korea, where people are still excited to just see a passenger plane land, and everyone has to run to get seats on the plane, and like a pack of Marlboros is quite the luxury. I thought that was quite that was relatively authentic, I think.
Yeah, it was evocative, that as well, it was but I quite liked the character of Yongdai, the crazy one, the hijacker, right? I thought he seemed quite real to me. He was very good at playing an intense kind of damaged person, really.
I mean, he's not as good as Donnie Yen would have played it, of course, but
hang on.
we can't hope for that.
We gotta stop a minute. Oh, that's annoying.
You're in tech difficulties there, Robin.
No, it came up with the big splash screen saying running out of time. Upgrade to Zoom Professional. I guess it didn't appear for you then. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, all right, should we?
Well, no, we've got 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the character was good and intense, and I don't know whether they Hollywoodized his backstory or not. I looked it up and I couldn't.
Oh, you mean with his brother? I mean, it's a very believable. I'm sure there's a million stories like that, right? Families split and stuff, and they tried to.
Well, his mum being eaten by.
He was still basically the big bad terrorist. They did at least pay a bit of lip service to him having suffered discrimination and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about this film that was it was fine, but something. I think it was because it didn't go full Hollywood. But also it wasn't kind of gritty and authentic. It's kind of like weirdly somewhere between the two, isn't it? So every now and again it's kind of realistic, but then all of a sudden there's like this time freeze effect where they go through the plane, and I'm thinking, why is that in here?
I quite liked that bit though, with the chicken there and the money, and he was grabbing it. I thought that was quite dark. I enjoyed that actually, but it was out of place for something that was seemed like most of the time it was trying to be sort of one particular tone, which was
right. And then at the very beginning, like when they're fucking about in their jet, it's very kind of Top Gun light, where hold on, and stuff, so it's a bit of a weird. But then again, that's one of the things we like on this show. I think is it's interesting to see other countries do the crowd pleasing Hollywood stuff, right?
Well, that bit was one of those things where it's like, oh, you can do anything nowadays, and it's all CG, so it doesn't really. Most of it didn't work. A lot of the stuff with the plane in the beginning was quite cheaply done, so there wasn't proper shadows and reflections and stuff on that plane, on the passenger plane. So a lot of that kind of sort of fell short, but it was still I still kind of enjoyed that though.
It's fine. It's nothing wrong with it at all. I think I think we're going like, of course, if Donnie Yen had been in it, it would have been much better. But fair play, the director Kim Sung Hani, I think his name is. I'd like to see what he does next. I mean, Chai Soo-bin, the stewardess, like just like to.
Throwing it out there, eh? Okay.
Huh?
Throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you not?
Huh? I thought she was very good, Clive.
A fine performance. Right. So anyway, yeah. So what we got next then, Robin?
We've got La Chimera, God, which is a film about an Englishman in Italy who is a kind of has a gift of being able to dowse for tombs. So he uses dowsing powers to open tombs, which is quite an unusual plot. Never seen that before. And it was
yeah. So this is a Italian film, right? Largely. There's also a French, Swiss, Turkish co-production, directed by Alice Roacker.
Good. I can't find it on my notes, obviously.
And this is probably the most high profile of the films we're going to be talking about, right? I think this has been up for.
It's got quite a few
awards
write-ups
like that
here and there.
Like you said, starring Josh O'Connor, speaking some Italian for the role, who's very good, but it's a shame. The only thing he suffers a little bit from. Anyone who ever watched The Crown, in which he played Prince Charles, once you've seen him as Prince Charles, it's kind of difficult to see him as anything else.
He plays a young Prince Charles, I presume. Or
because he looks so much like
him. Right. Yeah, he has got those perfect round ears, hasn't he? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But he's good, so I'm hoping that's something I can get over.
Well, did you watch The Crown? Or?
I did, yeah.
How do you find time? Anyway, you watch so many films. Anyway, you must be Donnie Yen.
Obviously, it would be better if it was Donnie Yen.
If he were the Englishman, that would have been it would have been better. He kick those tombs.
He wouldn't have even doused the tombs would have just risen to the surface.
Yeah, we put down the dowser, otherwise, graves just coming out of the ground.
So it's set to the 80s, isn't it? Which is something they don't expressly.
No, I only found it afterwards.
Because apparently it was a thing. In the 80s, there were these bands, they were called tombarolis, right? These tomb robbers. And, growing up so it's mostly shot around Tuscany and places like that, where people are surrounded by these ancient Etruscan, tombs and things full of artifacts. And, apparently, peasantry did start stealing this stuff and kind of selling it off to, people who were interested. There was like a black market in ancient Etruscan items.
It was it was a really kind of fun adventure in terms of film, and I didn't go in. I went into it watching it blind without knowing anything, so I didn't know what it was going to be about. It was it from that respect. If you haven't watched it, obviously we're spoiling it. If you go into it blind, then it's you're just watching a film and discovering what he can do, or what the film's about after about 15-20 minutes in, really, that's a kind of nice thing. It doesn't launch straight into what his character is and what he can do.
No. Which I always appreciate. I like being drip fed. I know for some people it drives them a bit mad. Like Ron, for example, likes to know what's going on front and center often, But I quite like how, you're not quite sure who his friends are, and because the film is very playful as well. Like it occasionally breaks the fourth wall.
Yes, well, once, yeah.
As I talked, and but it feels very natural, right? It doesn't feel like kind of post-natural wankery kind of. It feels quite natural, and there's a lot of little affected. Like there's a few scenes that are speeded up a little bit, like an old silent film.
And
but again, it feels very like organic somehow.
Yes, it's strange that because it works even though it shouldn't. It's sort of like it doesn't have any comedy value to it.
No,
it doesn't really add anything to the film, but somehow, like you say, it's just it's worked. It's almost like feels like those sped up parts are literally because they filmed it, and because it was a big landscape, and he had to walk. There's a bit where he has to walk all the way up to the door or whatever. Oh fuck! This scene. I want to include the whole landscape, but he's taking too bloody long. Should we just speed it up and then make it a feature, and then and then it's like, oh, fine, actually, and or whether there was more intention behind it, I don't know, but
that makes sense to me. You say that, and I think some people would say, they think, oh, Robin, you're denigrating this great piece of art. But actually, I think there's something to that, and I think that's why it doesn't bother me, because it's like, it could just be that in the edit they thought, should we just try this? And they were like, oh, that kind of works. Let's go with it.
Exactly. I can't see why it's no great shakes or whatever. It's no great commentary on silent era film, or it maybe gives his character a little bit of harking back to 1930s, but he's not, because he's a slightly 1930s-ish character in the sense that he's sort of grave robber kind of sort of he's wearing that white linen suit the whole time.
Yes,
so he sort of harks back to Pharaoh, Egypt, British people in Egypt.
Yes, I know what you mean. He's just missing the pith helmet, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's kind of harks back, so there could be some element of that in it, but really I just think
he's got that great kind of shabby glamour, like you can imagine, like, I don't know, like a hangover, like David Niven, like with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, in like kind of a bit rumpled, but basically still kind of charming, and even though the character's not fully charming, but he's good. I have to say I like Josh O'Connor in this film a great deal. He definitely does have screen presence, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has screen presence, and he doesn't have too much in this film anyway. And I don't think I've seen him in anything else. Too much poshness about him. He's not like your
right.
What's the guy? What is his name? Fucking
him.
Scroot Nindrich, whatever, the one from Harry Potter, the Scroot guy with the importance of spells. Fuck. Never mind. The.
Did you just make up a new Harry Potter film? The Importance of Spells. Starring Snoot Gingrich.
He's the one with the animals. Oh God. Anyway, other people would know. All the fans.
Yes, I don't think I'm
in the comments.
I
not
saw
the
the
Benedict Cumberbatch guy.
Nothing.
The other guy, not Benedict Cumberbatch. The other one. The other posh.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah, the posh guy. Anyway.
Yeah, Snoot Gingrich, I think you mean. My learned friend.
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't come across so posh that
No, I know what you mean. There's a lot of like very talented kind of British actors who but yeah, they seem a little bit
they have
posh shows.
affectation, too much affectation
Yeah.
about them. But he reminded me of my uncle who worked out. I thought at first I thought, is this a film about like my uncle that I do all this stuff I didn't know about him, because my uncle went and worked out in Italy as a gardener, but it's like I could picture, so that really warmed it, because my uncle's this like cranky guy. I don't know why I'm whispering. He's but it's like the internet won't. He doesn't even have the internet, my uncle. And and
It's your dad's brother.
no, my mum's brother.
Okay.
And I mean, my mum's brother. Yeah, he's really like, I think he's got like 2 PhDs or something stupid. He's like really learned, really, very learned friend, like Donnie. But at the same time, never done anything with it, like.
Well, just like this character, because it's mentioned that he's actually quite well. He's like a former academic.
Yeah, he's an archaeologist or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this actually like? Have there been some Italian people who met my uncle and thought, make a film about him?
You think your uncle might have been a Tombaroli in the 80s?
I could imagine him doing that. Yeah, and now my uncle lives in Bury Port and wears like, it just scares the locals. I think he wears like a really super shabby, like blue coat that's from the 80s, and then sort of wrap around sunglasses, and half his teeth are missing and stuff like that. And he just and he just collects hundreds of things. Anyway, so that warmed me to him. Anyway,
yeah. So some other people in this film as well is so Isabella Rossellini is so also the Josh Connor character. He seems to be pining for a dead girl, right? His dead kind of beloved, I guess.
Yeah.
His mother is played by Isabella Rossellini, who seems to be running this kind of school for singers or something.
Yeah.
At which Carol Duarte was kind of like a co-star, is like almost like a slave or a servant, really. Supposed to be there as a student, but she can't sing, right? So
yeah,
Isabella Rossellini just has her running around doing errands, but she has a sort of bond with the Josh O'Connor character. The director's sister, Alba Rohrwacher, turns up briefly as she's the German woman who buys the artifacts, like from they're interrupted robbing a tomb, and then some other like police have stolen like the Venus de Milo or something, and they sell it. And there's a German woman turns up on the boat.
Yeah,
on like a river.
She's the character.
Yeah, that's the director's sister.
Sarko, or whatever his name is. Her name anyway.
Yeah, for a minute I was like, I thought, oh my god, is this Andrea Riseborough again in a chameleon? Like, because I keep seeing films with Andrea Riseborough and I never recognize her. She's like, she's such a chameleon. Like, you're watching her, oh fuck, it's Andrea Riseborough again. And this woman, the sister of the director, who is actually a proper actress in her own, she's in lots of things, but she looks just enough like Andrea Riseborough. I was thinking, hang on, is this Andrea Riseborough again? But it wasn't. It was a good story, that one.
Well, I don't know who Andrea Riseborough is.
Well, that's because she's always hiding. You do. Okay, I bet you've seen her in a million things, but you've never put together, because she's always looks. She was in something we watched. No, she wasn't. Sorry. Anyway, moving on.
All right.
My learned friend. So
please do not waste this court's time. Sorry.
Yes, I was going to say great cinematography from Hélène Louvart, and some interesting stuff on the score and music, and anyway. But basically, my take on this was I very much enjoyed
Yeah,
La
I
Chimera, and I
really
found
enjoyed
it extremely kind of like it's one of those films. It stays with you. Like I was thinking about it like days
Yeah,
after. Do you
well,
know what I mean?
I only watched it yesterday, but I did have a dream, and I don't usually have dreams about film, but I had a dream of because it coincides. There's a sinkhole that's just opened up. Can't remember where in Britain. In
Oh, okay. You
like
had one just
Kent.
down the road from here actually recently.
All right. Well, this was a big one that
Um,
sort of swallowed up some people's houses or something. So it got on the news, and so I had a dream that combined that with the tomb robbing thing, and it was
uh-huh.
kind of cool dream, and I thank the film for that. But yeah, some of the other aspects that I really liked was the traveling band or the band, the Tamba Rollers or whatever they are, playing sort of folk legend, making their own legend with their songs,
Yeah, they're like the Greek
as they go
chorus. I
along.
think
Yeah,
they talk,
that was
yeah,
great.
tell the story.
I,
That
I,
was
I
nice.
think that was something that you know brings a lot of joy to a film, is to kind of give it that theatrical wandering troop
Hmm.
troop edge to it, where it just had that. I think the last film I saw that was sort of like that was, I think it's called the Lanterner or something.
Okay.
The Lantern Man. It was a film about
Was Snoot Gunrich in it?
so, yeah, no, thankfully he wasn't actually, but Donnie Yen
Oh well.
was,
I mean, I think that's all.
was the
That's the only
Lantern
thing
Man.
La Chimera could benefit from, really, is if Donnie Yen was in it, right?
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I was about to do a plot a spoiler. I think. Well, it's just it's a nice, evocative, grimy,
Hmm.
film that kind of takes you to a place where you can really get absorbed in it, and it has a nice, satisfying ending as well. I think it's not,
Yeah. No, it's a cool film. It's funny actually. I was a little bit surprised, um, because there's a famous kind of quote from Alice Rohrwacher, something along the lines of, "Oh, you found my film difficult or confounding good," or something like that.
Mm,
Like she was just saying, like, basically, cinema, doesn't have to be, spoon fed to you. I'm glad
mm,
you thought about my film or whatever. But
mm,
and that's all well and good. That's a message I can get behind.
mm,
But La Chimera for me, I thought, like, well, no, this is actually a good example of a film, like, because I know some people are put off by things set in foreign countries and in foreign languages they don't know, and with
mm,
subtitles, and they seem to maybe have, like, unusual, not straight narratives, and
mm,
people find that stuff a bit like, oh, it's going to be difficult. I just want to relax at home. I want to watch,
mm,
Donnie Yen kick people in the face or
mm,
something. But I thought La Chimera was a film that wore itself quite lightly, though, right? Like, it's
mm,
at no point did I feel like, oh, this is tough going or difficult to get
no,
into, or looking at my watch. So I think it's a good film to introduce people to like, international world cinema or
yeah,
whatever. Like, it's not tough going. It's
no, it's
pleasant.
very accessible. And it also has, it does have that Tuscan feel, like you were saying, of the kind of scenes where it's. So at first I thought, is this a kind of, like a holiday film sort of thing,
Mm.
like, um, but it's a perfect blend of one that gives you that feeling of being in that country and being with those friends that he has, or those sort of,
Right.
uh, you know, but at the same time he's kind of, he's cranky and pissed off. I also liked his growling as well, which is something I can really imagine my uncle doing in Italy. He doesn't do it in Britain, but he would probably do it there.
Mm.
That growl was
Oh, it's funny
good.
you mentioned that. It did remind me a little bit, even though we didn't rob tombs, I think. There was a little bit, it reminded me a little bit of our days together in Sixth Form College as well, like having a little kind of
Down the
band
coast.
of people around you,
Yeah,
and,
that's what I mean.
you
Yeah,
know,
or times
Yeah.
I've been to Spain and stuff, or Europe and stuff, where if I know Europeans, and that you get
Mm.
let in their world, it's really kind of so much more enjoyable than kind of having a normal holiday sort of thing. Especially while Spain, I got to kind of hang around with lots of actual Spanish people, and that was really like that, yeah. But anyway, yeah,
So anyway, we like La Chimera quite a bit, don't we? I
we
think.
do. Yeah, looking forward to her next film, and yeah,
Yeah,
it was
no,
great.
me too. I might go back and I've not seen any of her other films actually,
Right,
but
yeah.
she was quite renowned even before she was a learned friend even before La Chimera. But this one seems to be this seems to be the film that's more and more people are seeing, right? Like it's a bit of a
I'd say she's like the Donnie Yen of Italian women.
yeah. I mean, nowhere
Yeah.
near as good,
Yeah.
obviously, but
This is the only film I
you
didn't watch with. Oh no, well I think without Claire, so I need to watch it or with her because it's a bit of a
yeah, I
shame
would
because
have
it's the
thought she
best one
would
I think.
probably
So
rather enjoy this, right?
yeah, yeah. Anyway, all right. Oh well, no, this next one is a good one as well. I think, isn't it? Kubi is
Are we
that's
doing
what we're doing
Kubi
now,
next,
or
are we?
what else are we doing? Because no,
Okay,
hang
well,
on,
let's do it.
the three.
You've mentioned it, so let's
All
do
right,
it.
let's do Kubi,
Yeah,
which is Takeshi Kitano film. You go.
yeah. From 2023, yeah.
You're
Should
probably going to
mention
do
as
it
well,
loads better than me. This because
we can't quite say we're. I was about to say Sano Takeshi's latest, but he's made another one in the interim.
oh, is he okay? But
Yeah,
not
there's another
another
one out.
samurai film.
No, there's another one. He's done like another crime film, Broken Rage,
Okay.
which has just come out actually, which I will see because I am a long time Kitano fan. Are you actually? Because I remember
Well, yeah,
watching.
but I mean, I haven't watched a Kitano film for years, like really
Mm,
long time. So I didn't even know this was him. I didn't recognize him until it started
ah,
to dawn on me. I was like, because I knew that I know that face, but it's been such a long time. I just
right.
uh,
And he looks different
he
here, right?
does
Because
look
he's yeah,
different, yeah, but I don't know how because I haven't seen him for a really really long
right.
time. So yeah, and
I know he's still
yeah,
on telly all the time and stuff, but
mm,
he's been directing. Although there was a bit of a gap, so I don't know if you've seen any of his outrage films. He did like three. There's a series of gangster films
mm,
which were pretty big hits, and I think the last of them was about 6 years before this one, and then other than them, he made like a couple of other films that were felt a little bit like him treading water.
mm.
So this, I'll say straight out, I really, really enjoyed this.
Yes,
This one
excellent film. Yeah,
seemed like a bit of a return to form.
yeah. I imagined it was, but I haven't seen enough any films
Right.
lately anyway. But I
But it
felt like he'd put
instinctively felt
a
like that.
huge
Right?
amount of effort into it. Like and it's again it's based on a true story,
Mm.
but the plot is yeah, it's hard to. I don't know. It's feudal, Japan with, you know, I'm sure you're going to do a better job than me at this, given that you live
Okay,
in
well,
Japan.
yeah. So this is a very famous history. So this is Sengoku era, the Warring States period, and it goes from 1579 to 1589. And it's known as the Honoji incident. So this was basically when Oda Nobunaga was dethroned and eventually assassinated. And there was a rebellion started by this guy, Murashige, and this was back when the capital was, in Osaka on the west side before it was in Tokyo.
And am I right in thinking there was an emperor as well, but we only see a glimpse of him or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So this was he'd been like and so it's basically how that rebellion leads to the Battle of Yamazaki and Nobunaga being assassinated, and Hideyoshi Toyotomi is the character Tano plays, kind of unifies Japan, right? And it becomes the end of the warring states period. So it's a very famous, well-told story. What I didn't realize until I saw the end credits was Tano Takeshi, who directed, wrote, and edited as usual. He also wrote a novel called Kubi, and then made the film based on the novel. So he wrote I don't know how the novel, because the film seems like such a cinematic construction. I'm not quite. I'm guessing the novel must be quite different from the film. My guess would be, but yes, and it's a well-told story, but it's told. I suppose my main takeaway is basically they've told the story from the point of view of all these people who are fucking insane, right? And just like gangsters, actually.
Yeah.
It's basically Tano Takeshi's kind of done another gangster film, but set it in the Sengoku period. But they're all fucking thugs, right?
Yeah, and the main thug is, Oda, who is
Nobunaga.
Is a total what's the word I was looking for? He's a psychotic. Yeah, I mean he's absolute psychotic.
As played by Caserio as well, who I think is fantastic. And who I've been in a TV commercial with once. Yes, for what was it? Like canned coffee or something, or tea. Yeah, I was one of 3 people chasing him.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I've got for you.
Well,
but he was a very nice man.
Okay. I don't know how many questions to ask about that, but I'll leave it for now. Yeah, I mean, I really, really like that aspect of it, of exploring the different ways in which, they were, because usually it's, well, I don't know about usually, but from what I've seen of sort of your warlord samurai type films, they're often austere and kind of noble and
right.
Whereas this is completely stripping that down to what they were probably more likely like, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I quite like is that there have been other great Jidaigeki films where they've made, they have made the point that these people were kind of ruthless kind of characters, but then they often sometimes slightly sentimentalize or use the peasantry as kind of like a counterpoint of being. But what I liked about this film is everyone's an asshole. Like even the peasant characters are just fucking morons as well. There's pretty much no real proper sympathetic characters in the film at all, right?
No. Yeah, not really. Is it? I've forgotten the character's name. Murashige, is it?
Yeah, Murashige, the guy who leads the rebellion, the first one to
Yeah,
I've been in I forget his name now, but I've been in a drama with him as well as an extra. I remember bumping into him.
Yeah. Anyway, he was the closest it got to a kind of a moral-ish character, but it was not really. And I liked the kind of jokes of you commit harakiri, and then kind of no one really wanting to do that either. It was like it's kind of a joke in the sense of of your usual expectation is that they're going to do it because God, look at how devoted
Right.
these people were, but no one does it in the film. They all
Well,
say,
there's
"I
one
will, I
very
will."
funny.
Oh yeah,
There's one
there's
very
one.
funny Hurricane scene,
Mm.
as played by the comedian Yoshi Arakawa, which is really funny because everyone's like, come on, like get on with it, like because he's dragging it out, and yeah, that's quite funny. Like it's very irreverent, and it's funny. I was watching it. It's one of those films. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well because I think it's one of those films. If you know the history, like the more history you know, you'll enjoy it more because you understand the references. But also at the same time, I suppose it could work the other way. The more you know your history, it might piss you off if you don't think it's being held in enough reverence.
Oh yeah.
Here's a question for you, though. I was wondering if this was something that you picked up on or not. Did you notice that the language is very anachronistic, deliberately anachronistic and non-period, like the way they speak?
Oh yeah, I did notice that right from the beginning. Yeah.
Right. Oh, there we go then. Yeah.
There
So
was
it's
I can't
almost
remember
like they're
what they
speaking
said.
modern dialect. Yeah.
But that was not from that was from the subtitles. So
okay.
I couldn't tell that from the Japanese, but I figured that those, because one of the subtitles was right from the beginning was something like what was it, like geezer or something like that. So obviously he's a dodgy geezer, something I can't remember, but I thought, oh wow, that's got to be a kind of. I thought maybe Clive did the subtitles. But yeah, they got someone basically with a grasp of slang and of even.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't be me, but yes, it does. It reinforces because it's a modern kind of Kansai West Side dialect, which is also the kind of way that kind of gangsters speak as well, with that kind of rolling kind of sound, and so that just reinforces the kind of samurai class as the kind of gangster thugs of their era.
I wondered whether Kitano had seen. I mean, I didn't really like that film, but I think you liked it, but it was what's it? Is the Stalin film by
The Death of Stalin.
Yeah, by.
Oh, you didn't get on with that?
Not really, because I that is an example where I felt like it was a bit sort of overly simplified when the history of that is probably more nuanced and complex, that you kind of feel like it was just seemed too simplified, as in like there's probably more humor, I felt, in it wasn't it Paul Whitehouse doing, I can't remember who.
Oh my, this was in it,
yes. Going being like kind of Alan Sugar type character,
right,
and I like all those people and everything as well. It's just that
yeah.
I felt like that film just seemed to be missing kind of what where probably a lot of humor and interest lied, by being kind of historically ignorant in a way, even though Ichi's a very clever guy and whatnot, but he's
I know what you mean. Even though I did enjoy that film, I know what you mean. The real story is so inherently absurd that you almost don't have to juzz it up at all, right? Like, so I would like to see a straight up version of pretty much the same story.
Also, I've never seen anything really about Stalin, and to the extent that that gives it a kind of even hand. Well, anyway, drifting off topic, but
the other problem, I think that film might have had Snoot Gunrich in it as well.
There was a Snoot Gunrich aspect of it, which he just kind of comes in and like Jude Law
But
just comes and
we did
goes.
classic Snoot.
Yeah. Yeah. Was Jude
So
Law in that? I can't remember. Anyway.
I remember.
Yeah.
But just to, yeah, so just to the other thing I thought was quite interesting as well is so if you remember, there was that film which Kitano didn't direct. It was a Niki Sawashima film, but he was in it, called Gohatto, about 25 years ago, which was all about homosexuality within the ranks of the samurai and stuff as well. So clearly Kitano is fascinated by that, because there's a lot of that in this film as well, right? There's a lot of homosexual relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
Which again, you don't is I think historic, like a lot of this film actually in general quite historically accurate if you're talking about just like the basic beats of what played out. But yeah, you don't really you see in surprisingly few films until very recently that element of that lifestyle.
Yeah, similar to other historic films, in that that type of thing's only being kind of like, Romans were, massively.
Yeah, you don't really see that addressed much in like the gladiator films or anything.
No, exactly. But they were massive paedophiles and homosexual kind of paedophiles at that sort of thing. Anyway.
Awful lot of heads cut off in this film.
Yes, I wonder whether he was going for a kind of record there. I don't know, but
there's a lot of them, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a great number, and it is that was the historically inaccurate thing. Yeah. Heads don't kind of come off in that way, but
the longer the film plays as well, it seems to get even looser. Like suddenly there's like a weird out of nowhere kind of wuxia style action sequence with people like flying up in the air, and there's a few like comedy bits which almost seem like the cameras were rolling and some improv, and then they just put like it's a very playful film. It's a very playful film, but it's just it. As it went on, it got slightly more kind of loose, but it stopped before the wheels went off, right?
Yeah.
And it still has in place great production values and good battle scenes, some good stunts, and so it's it's a very, very satisfying film.
Very satisfying. He took a fair bit of sort of inspiration from Kubrick's thingy. Fuck! It was Snoot.
Oh, it's Snoot in it.
Yeah. Snoot giggle.
Oh, who could forget Kubrick's thingy starring Snoot?
What is it called? Barry Lyndon. There we go.
Oh, Barry Lyndon.
Yeah, some of the
there might be a little bit, although that's a much more kind of austere film.
It is, of course, but it was the battle scenes where they're late. They did the wide shots and a lot. Sort of looked like a.
That's a great film as well. I know lots of people don't necessarily get on with that, but that's one of my favorite.
It is one of my favorites. Yeah, I would love it.
So last on the docket.
Yeah.
Chinese film. Only the River Flows. 2023. Directed and co-written by Wei Shujun, co-written by Kang Chunwei, and based on a novel by the celebrated novelist Yu Hua.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Zoot.
Snoot. Yes. I don't think this novel is one of the ones that's been translated into English. Because I was having a look around, and a few of his books, because I'm keen to read. I think I might read. He's got one. The English title is Chronicles of a Blood Merchant, which was turned into a Korean film actually a few years ago. So I think I'm gonna give that a go. I would read this one if it was available in English, but I don't read Chinese, so. So I won't be doing that. Because it'd be stupid to read a book I couldn't read. Unless it had nice pictures, I suppose.
Well, yeah, you could. Well, yeah, fine. What's it about, Clive?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Robin. So,
checking my notes.
Yeah, so this is, well, it's an interesting one actually, because it's I suppose you can do the very basic plot because it's not, and spoiler alert just in case we do that as well. It's basically, so it's set in 1995. It's set in Peishui City, which is in Jiangdong province, apparently. And it's basically, it's a murder mystery. And Zhu Yilung plays our main character, this police captain.
Chief, yeah.
And he's on this murder case. But it's funny, so that someone turns up dead and then leads to a prime suspect, but then that prime suspect leads to another prime suspect, and then there's a few characters who insist that they're guilty but won't explain why, and then kind of that ends in tragedy. I'm trying not to do any spoilers here. So it's a weird. So I think the thing that surprised me most about this film, and I really liked this film. I thought this. I mean, we've got three strong ones in this bunch, but this might have been my pick of the bunch. But what I really liked about this film was, I'll get to what I really liked. But what I was surprised about by this film was how the fuck did this film, which is such a kind of allegory about all the things that are wrong with China, how the fuck did this get past the censors? Even though there's nothing like, there's no gore, violence, or sex, or any overt kind of political rhetoric. It seemed to me to be, so the main character is basically kind of driven mad by the system and eventually rewarded for allowing the system to break him down to brutalizing like someone who should be protected almost to keep the status quo, and he gets promoted, and it's incredibly ironic that this like the moment he turns psychotic and beats someone else's brains is when he's rewarded by the state, right?
But he doesn't actually beat someone's brains, right? It's an illusion, is that right? I've forgotten what happens.
But you might be right. I read it as he does though, right? He clunks him over the head, doesn't he? Again, spoilers.
Well, we haven't said who he's clunked over the head.
No. But just in case anyone's going to watch this film.
I don't know to what extent I see it as a critique of China, in the sense that because to what extent we're allowed to talk about it, or we're going to let ourselves talk about it. But it's a case that it's just it's a case that is that he can't solve, and
yes, but he's
unable to solve.
He has to solve it, right? The bureaucracy demands that he solve it. It has to be tied up.
But then and I suppose in terms of exploring China, it explores a lot of the poverty and and aspects of kind of I mean, well, one thing I didn't I meant to go back and watch the very beginning scene with the kids in the
yes,
which was
because after the end credits there's an allusion to it, isn't there? The
is there? Oh shit!
Yeah, just at the, it doesn't clear anything. Yeah, so at the beginning there's that scene with the kid and the building's torn down. Right, he opens the door.
Yes, I can.
So at the very end of the film, when the credits end, you see our main character, the police captain, enter that building.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that means that that's his son,
or was it him as a kid, or yeah. I couldn't.
I'm sure it means something, but I couldn't quite put it together. But what I mean is, you're quite right. In some ways, it's a non-specific you could say that it's just a kind of it's almost Kafkaesque in some way. Like it's not specific to China necessarily, but stuff like I think some of the stuff that is definitely pointedly Chinese is like this. So his wife's pregnant, right? And they have a big argument, and the child might be have some kind of disability or something, right?
Yeah.
And they're kind of forced to discuss whether they're going to abort it, and
that's
I'm
one
sure
child policy.
One child policy, kind of puts extra pressure on because you're like, well, this might be our only chance to have a quote unquote normal kid or something,
well,
right?
yeah, that he asks, or what does he say? He said that he basically doesn't he take the line that he says, well, what if it's not a boy or something like that, or I wanted a boy or something. I can't remember what he said.
Yeah. And of course the end of the film as well has that when we see the kid and you just have a look at the kid and obviously that you see a possible parallel with the character in the film so there's a lot going on. I guess maybe it sneaked past stuff like that because they don't have the one child policy anymore, right? So you could argue, okay, maybe not. I mean, making a film in modern China must be some anything with teeth, right? It must be a nerve-wracking experience to try and figure out like what can you get away with and what can you not get away with, because it probably changes as well, right? With whoever's it's not as if it's this kind of sometimes it's okay and then there's a policy change and suddenly you can't talk about that anymore and then it switches back, and so it must be nerve-wracking to make a film like this.
Yeah, I mean, whether I don't know, how much do you know about like the sort of film classifications and stuff in China?
Nothing really. I mean, I'm assuming.
No idea.
I know of other films that have been made, but they've.
I mean, I know we watched
they've been
those.
screened abroad, but they haven't been seen in China. But I think this was, more or less, like kind of a bit of a minor hit even in China. I think for an independent film, I heard it made a lot of money. So that's kind of surprised me that it was allowed to.
It seemed like a film, an auteur film that was shot for almost, Cannes and European markets as well. Like in some ways, it was shot on 16mm film.
Yes,
it was really pretty. The other thing is, at the very beginning, there was some bad body double. The woman was supposed to be dead, but she was very clearly breathing. We feel like they kind of missed that because they were shooting on 16mm film where you can't necessarily view it, or can't view it very well. So yeah, she's lying there and she's going but yeah, other than that, it was shot exquisitely, I think, but and that made me think it was, and that the kind of the approach of having a film, exploring that side of policing where actually more cases go completely unsolved than get solved and that sort of thing,
right.
and the futility of it, was a good.
That stuff. You're quite right. Is kind of universal as well, right? I wasn't trying to say that it was, but I was just.
No, I think that could, because I read a write-up about was saying the same things as you about how it's like it explores a lot of the the problems with China, and I just wondered to what extent it actually does, and to being not from China or not knowing enough about it, I can see, I just can't see whether what I'm what I'm looking at is what is intended at all or not, other than the kind of obvious things about there being poverty, but in that sense, you would see that in any kind of gritty, independent film. You'd have exploration, Ken Loach or whatever, you'd have some, but where definitely would be missing, wider cultural implications about.
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot went over my head as well. I think it also helps if you're setting your film 30 years in the past as well, right? You can
be more
again
critical.
A trick for things to get past the censors a little bit, right? That you can, oh no, they were talking about then, not now, kind of thing,
Yeah.
But it seemed, and looking at a few reviews that confirmed it as well, it seemed somehow very authentic to me in terms of like the locations and apparently yes. I was reading someone's comment. Apparently someone who lived in China in the mid-90s, like kind of out provincial kind of, and they said they got the period detail and everything spot on, right? And it does have that feel. It has that kind of like. Because I think sometimes when you make films set in places that are maybe... I mean, it's interesting you mentioned, I didn't necessarily get so much poverty necessarily from this film, but clearly it's not an affluent place then, let's put it that way. But it wasn't like... It didn't seem like a bad place. Like there was something kind of dreamlike. I almost kind of quite wanted to live there. There was something about the place that was very, I don't know, I found it like, one of those films where you want to climb into the screen and kind of have a look about. And there was something about the setting that I found quite interesting.
Yeah. But there was a lot of crumbling infrastructure.
The police station, the headquarters for the investigation is in, and that was one thing I couldn't quite put my finger on. So at the beginning of the film, to lead this murder investigation, they decide to use this old cinema, right, for the headquarters. And as soon as they started doing that, I was like, okay, where's this going to go? Because you don't put disused, a filmmaker doesn't put a disused cinema as there's clearly some metaphor at work here. Like you don't do that for no reason in your film, right?
Yeah.
But I have to admit, as the film was going along, I couldn't quite figure what that was a symbol of. Could you get your head around that?
Well, other than just the literal point of saying that, like, the infrastructure is all gone, and so nothing serves its original purpose anymore, and everything is everything is broken. So you got the real feel from that film that the only thriving thing, the only people who were having any kind of decent time jobs wise were the police, and everyone else is kind of suffering, and they're playing ping pong and kind of.
I suppose you
themselves.
could make the argument as well that it's like a dream factory being replaced by just more bureaucracy, right? Like another.
And or more authoritarianism, they because they're taking over something that was, and there was probably some stuff there. It did turn up in the subtitles, but I didn't. Again, I was too tired. But there was something in that, the name of the cinema, right? But I can't remember the name of it. But they were taking down. That was symbolic, taking down the. They made made a whole thing of that, like taking down the name of the cinema and it falling on the floor and stuff. So I guess there's stuff like that. And then when
one hopes that in the original language they don't over-egg the pudding, like the character for the cinema isn't something like hopes and dreams or something like that. Or maybe it just says it's an old marquee and it just it says starring Snoot, Gunrich, and then taking it down.
Yeah, Harry Potter and Wand. Yeah,
Wow. That was prize for the least imaginative Harry Potter film title.
yeah. This
And
is 23rd in the franchise.
not even the wand of something. Just
anyway. Yeah. Well, I thought that the cinema was going to burn down or something to have a again, but that was, I felt like that was part of it as well, was to have it be a commentary on sort of repurposing all the stuff that had once been before, everything crumbling down and just it having to just all belong to the police because there's nothing else left, but also then just fitting into that story of, you think that the projector's going to burn,
right,
but it doesn't, and that.
There's a rather good dream sequence. Actually, I did like that
excellent dream
sequence.
Yeah, I actually wrote that in my notes. Where is it?
Yeah. Well, so I'm a big fan in films, and surprisingly, you don't see it that often. Almost all films, when they cut to a dream sequence, they're almost always shot in a different way on a different stock, or they have some kind of filter, so you're immediately, you're in a dream sequence. Right? What I liked about this dream sequence was it looked the same as the rest of the film, and obviously about halfway through you figured out, oh, hang on, but it took a little while, and it didn't switch like film stock or stuff. So I was like, I like that. I like where the dream sequence is just integrated into the film.
What was happening in it? I can't remember. It was really good.
Yeah, it was good. It was started off with, I think, it started off from the point of view of someone in the river, and the old woman's like whipping, and then he goes up on shore, and then there's another character mumbling, and the tape speeds up.
Yes, and the thing of camera, syncing the tape to the that was really what that was sort of David Lynchy kind of thing going on there, but it was actually really tight as well. It's really well done. That it was very very good for a dream sequence. I don't think it's like very close to dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is
like, whoa, this is a dream. It was just more like I suppose more like magical realism, right? Where it's almost realistic, and then hang on, that's a bit off,
And the other thing I liked was the sort of comedy aspect of this sort of daft, police officer that he kind of. First, he's doing the splits, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's showing off.
He's a great character, isn't he? Because he's going to show up to his female colleague.
Yeah, he's like our old,
and she's like,
our friend in college, Steve Kick High. He's a bit like him.
Oh yeah.
Check me out. And then you see that he's made, and it doesn't make it into a joke. It's just a joke that you get. Where then 5 minutes later he's got to stay there in splits, and for the rest of the afternoon.
It's nice and it's funny. It's nice character stuff, and even like the devastating stuff is quietly like there's a scene where our main character is basically like just can't handle it anymore and tries to resign, and the police just doesn't let him, right? And it's not like a big showdown, like it isn't like God damn it, you gotta and it's just like no, it's fine, you get out of here, and and he just can't escape, right? He tried his best, but he just can't quit.
That was a great.
It's good, very good film. I thought Only the River Flows. I'm glad. Because this was the only one I was absolutely like. I can't remember how I came across on it, because it's kind of it's gone under the radar a little bit, I feel. But at some point, someone had recommended it, and it sounded like my cup of tea, and I remembered it, and I made a little note. Because what I do is when I manage to hear about the new film, and it sounds like something I'd want to talk to you about it, I put a little note, day release possibility next to it in brackets on my list of, and I often forget why, but just the fact that I put day release next to it, I thought, oh, okay, so, and I'm glad we did watch it for this, because it is quite an excellent film, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't think. Well, I think it was the first. It was the first film I watched. I think. Oh no, Hijack 1971 was the first film. The second film I watched. And again, I think I had to watch it in a couple of goes, but or maybe not. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I did really enjoy
Well, it's
it.
interesting you mention that, because the thing is, The Prosecutor would benefit from being cut up, right? Whereas a film like this, you kind of want to watch in one go.
I can't remember whether I managed this one all the way through. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. I think the of the I wouldn't say the three that we both seem to agree that we liked the most. They're all so different that it's hard to really compare them. But yeah, so I wouldn't say
watch them all. Watch only those. Watch Kubi. Watch La Chimera for sure. And Hijack is fine. It's pretty good. And of course, everyone in the world has to watch Prosecutor, because Donnie Yen's in it, and he's Jesus. So
Hijack 1971 does manage all those moments of tension really well. Like there were bits where I was gripping on to
quite grim,
like, oh God, and then the final scene, to know that actually the plane landed like that, like halfway between the shore and the sea.
Yes, because you get newsreel footage at the end of the actual plane.
I looked it up afterwards, and it did land like that. That was great. It's worth making a film about in itself. Yeah, and then what was the other one again?
Prosecutor.
Oh, The Prosecutor. Yeah,
and that gets an automatic pass because Donnie Yen's in it.
Yeah, if you need moral guidance in your life, don't look any further.
Donnie's the man.
Yeah, and absolute
to be played by Jesus in a Martin Scorsese film coming soon.
Yeah. All right.
Right, then.
Yeah.
So I think that's this edition done and dusted.
It is.
But once again, you didn't watch Chime. You might watch it next time. You never know.
I will forget that you said all this.
Right. Sure. That's probably wise if we forget all this.
Yeah. But the rest of you, you're welcome.
Till next time.
Yeah. Till next time.
See you all.